My enduring understanding was relationships create patterns. Question 1. What was a common theme throughout each of the 3 time periods during the Middle Ages? Throughout the Middle Ages, people lived in a dreadful time. Although the early, high, and late Middle Ages are broken up into separate entities, there is a common theme throughout the Middle Ages. This theme is the church played a large role in the Middle Ages. Okay, let me back up a bit. The Middle Ages started out with a time period called the Dark Ages. According to Explorable.com, this term Dark Ages comes from the fact that there were few written records remaining from this era, especially when compared to the meticulous record-keeping of the Romans. There was little written record mainly because people did not want to write, because people were too demoralized because of the tragic events that had occurred. According to MedievalLife.net, the people had to live in poverty, poor health care, and dirty cities, famine, and disease. Because people lived in such harsh times, they were hopeless and they had nowhere to turn to, so people started to turn to the church. For example, one of the largest catalysts that made people rely on the church was the Black Plague. People turned to God throughout the Middle Ages because they were hopeless and had nowhere to go. Because of this, the church gained more power and wealth. The church used an efficient strategy. They would manipulate the fears of people. Society had collapsed and people were struggling to survive. The church could promise heaven and also threaten hell, thus creating a sense of reliance on the church and the messages it conveyed. Because the church gained more followers, it impacted the development of culture throughout the Middle Ages. Artwork was impacted greatly by the church. People started to create artwork that reflected religious stories and ideas. A great example would be a Pieta that was created in the late Middle Ages. A Pieta is a painting of the crucifixion of Jesus Christ. Many different varieties of this piece were created, and they were created to express a pivotal event in Christian history, the crucifixion of Christ. Since more people were followers of the Catholic Church, more religious artwork began to spring up throughout the Middle Ages. The church also impacted music. The church played a key role in the musical realm because most music during the time was for a church service in a cathedral. The church told people what was good and bad music to listen to. They had depicted secular music to be pagan or evil, and they did not want anyone to listen to it. Throughout the Middle Ages, music became more formal and in notation and structure. The church utilized different types of music throughout the Middle Ages, such as Gregorian chants and instrumental music. The thing to remember is the church always monitored music, and they tried to make people listen to specific types of music. Not only was the church involved in music and art, it also played a key role in literature and architecture. Epic poems and framing tales started to emerge, and most literature pieces reflected God. For example, Dante's Inferno was a framing tale that was composed of several stories about hell. This book was used to convey how scary hell was, and also conveyed various punishments for the various sins. This frightened people, and made them become members of the church because they did not want to experience this eternal hell that they read about in Dante's Inferno. The church was also reflected in the Middle Ages architecture throughout the cathedrals that exemplified revolutionary architecture. They utilized advanced building techniques such as the use of pointed arches, flying buttresses, groin vaults to distribute weight. They created stained glass windows that had stories about Christian history and spires at the top of the cathedrals that increased height. These advanced building techniques were first demonstrated on cathedrals and are used today. The church was a key component in cultural development because it influenced music, literature, art, and architecture throughout the Middle Ages. My question 2 was, what are some similarities between Rome and ancient Greece? Ancient Rome borrowed many of Greece's ideas. That is why ancient Rome is referred to as the Great Borrowers. It all started when Etruscan invaders from Asia brought the influence of archaic Greece to Rome. Rome eventually overthrew these Etruscan leaders, but their ideas and influence were still prevalent in Roman society. They loved their philosophy, sculpture, architecture, and religion. Roman gods were very similar to Greek gods. The gods had very similar characteristics, but had different names. According to Pantheon.org, Mars is a god that most Romans respected. On the other hand, Greeks consider Ares a strong and fearsome god because of his love of war. This shows that Romans used Greek gods but then modified them with Roman ideology. Romans were bigger warriors than Greeks were, and this is why they respected the god of war more. Another thing that Romans borrowed from Greece is Stoicism. Stoicism is one of the most influential and important traditions of the Greek Hellenistic world. According to religiousfacts.com, Stoicism was founded by Zeno, who was born in 335 BC and came to Athens around 313 BC. Stoicism is a philosophy where humans personify reason. It revolves around people making decisions around what they know to be true. The people that adhere to Stoicism follow reason, wisdom, and virtue, and leave everything else to God. Happiness through the use of logic and reason is the ultimate goal of the individual. Romans made Stoicism into a mellow, tolerant set of beliefs, and freed it from the strict rules and ideas. Rome also copied some of Greece's best engineering feats, such as the arch, for example. Ancient Greeks first developed the arch to distribute weight more evenly in buildings. Romans improved this technique by creating arches out of concrete that provided a more secure and sturdy structure. Rome has also similar artwork that Hellenistic art had. Hellenistic art had a theme of suffering and also showed a lot of emotion in each piece. Hellenistic art had great detail as well. Roman art put their own spin on Hellenistic art. A great example would be Hercules and Telephus. This piece of Roman art shows Hellenistic characteristics because there is emotion in the piece, great detail, and there is also an S-curve, which first derived in ancient Greek art. Ancient Rome is called the Great Borrowers because they based most of their culture off ancient Greek principles and ideas. Ancient cultures have a lot of relationships, and these relationships build great patterns.